Move aside, Blackfish. You ain't got nothing on this. Ecco the Dolphin. Now that's a weird game. However, instead of getting into the making of Ecco and all of its games for a Future Slopes Game Room The Complete History video, whilst researching, I found probably the most disturbing backstory of any game I've ever looked into, ever. I'm serious. It's so messed up and hard to believe that I felt it just wouldn't fit as part of one of those complete history videos and deserved its own video entirely. I'm Daniel Ibbertson, and this is the completely fucked up inspiration behind Ecco the Dolphin. The Ecco series has always stuck with me, not only because of the smooth controls, gorgeous underwater worlds and freedom that it portrays to you, the player, but also because of alien abductions, the mental scary octopus, the horrible alien head, and overall feeling of abandonment. Yes, Ecco the Dolphin is quite a lonely, sad game after the first minute of gleeful enjoyment that the front cover portrays. Who the hell came up with this unnerving story anyway? Well, that would be Ed Annunziata. The dude must have been on some serious drugs or something, am I right? Well, actually not. He verified this in an interview. No, I never took LSD, but I did read a lot from John C. Lilly. And that is where our story starts. The inspiration behind everyone's favourite video game Dolphin was inspired by the events of John C. Lilly. So here we are in the 1960s. John C. Lilly, a well-respected scientist, had a keen interest in marine biology and interspecies communications. So he went to NASA and was able to get funding for research. But what research exactly? You know, just the research whether it was possible to teach dolphins to speak.
Hello, you.
Well, actually, not from their mouths, but through their blowholes. The whole idea of this was put together in case we ever came in contact with alien life forms. If this ever happened, they could hopefully use these translation techniques to, I don't know, declare war or something. To get as close to his dolphins as possible, he actually ended up flooding a house in the Caribbean. He did this so that the dolphins could interact with him and his team. Eventually news got around and Lily's work ended up attracting the attention of a young girl named Margaret Lovett, someone else who grew up loving dolphins. So she drove to the flooded house, ignored all of those keep out signs, knocked on the door and was greeted by the director of the lab. I heard you have dolphins and I thought I could come and see if there was anything I could do or any way I could help. Sure, come in, sit there and document everything that this dolphin does. The head scientist quickly realised that Margaret had a keen eye for observation and ended up giving her the opportunity to come down on a regular basis to continue documenting what they do. And she accepted, without pay. Now, whilst Dr. Lilly and his team worked on understanding what dolphins were saying to each other downstairs using the two female dolphins, they actually ended up building a working lift to another water section upstairs for the third dolphin, a male dolphin. And it was Margaret that was put in charge of solely looking after this said dolphin, with her main responsibility of being able to teach him to speak English through his blowhole. Now I know what you're thinking. Stupid. It's a stupid idea. Well, I actually thought the same. However, surprisingly, it sort of worked. Sort of.
Margaret. 1, 2, 3.
This is real audio and was taken from the BBC documentary The Girl Who Talked to Dolphins. I highly suggest you go check it out for a lot more information on this topic. But basically, all you need to know was this is as far as they got. But really? After they got it to imitate a sound, what were they actually expecting? To have a conversation?
An interesting bird is the South African talking parrot. Polly, want a cracker? I said, Polly, want a cracker?
Nah, give me a short beer.
It's not like these animals now understand what you're saying and can have conversations with you. They're all just making the right noise to get a cracker, or in the case of this story, a fish.
Polly wants a cracker.
Cogitate.
Now the problem with separating the male dolphins upstairs with the female dolphins downstairs is that the male dolphin was actually only a young pup coming of age, and it was getting to a point in its life where he wanted sex. It's all natural. However, what isn't natural is the connection between Margaret and Peter. That's the name of the male dolphin. It became so strong. Yet Margaret loved him dearly, as you would a pet, but Peter the dolphin was crazy in love with her and wasn't too interested in the female dolphins downstairs in that way at all. In fact, when he was downstairs with those female dolphins, he ended up becoming quite disruptive during the female lessons. So, Margaret ended up having to actually relieve the dolphin's urges herself. She does explain in the documentary that it's not sexual on her part at all. However, it was for him, and she saw it as nothing more than scratching an itch so he could carry on focused with his English lessons. Damn, I wish my English teacher helped me out like this. Either way, these events, although not publicly known at the time, were very much known by the scientists in the building. However, several years later, news did get out, and Margaret even got ridiculed about this when it became public in an issue of Hustler. So moving on. Progress started slowing down, as you would expect, and funding for this very expensive project was being threatened by NASA and the other big money lenders. So, Dr. Lilly, not in complete cooperation with the rest of the team, started doing some pretty bad testing on the dolphins, studying their brains and mapping their cerebral cortex using fine probes. He even ended up injecting the dolphins with LSD. And because dolphins use sonar as a way to map their surroundings, started using a jackhammer near the pool to mess with their surroundings and hopefully get some kind of, well, any kind of improved reaction. Nothing worked. Eventually funding did obviously stop, and Peter the dolphin was taken away from his trainer and, more importantly, the love of his life, Margaret, to another underwater lab owned by Lilly near Miami. Now, Margaret was obviously very sad about losing this pet that she'd grown to know so well, and although this apparently at the time sounded fine according to Margaret, it was sadly the best thing to do for Peter the dolphin. But little to Margaret's knowledge, it wasn't. The dolphins were treated horrifically, pushed into small tanks that gave them hardly no room whatsoever, having further tests on them and swimming in their own mess. Peter the dolphin, as you would expect, found this new life in this hellhole with hardly no sunshine and away from Margaret so hard to deal with that it was believed he took a deep breath, went underwater and committed dolphin suicide. Which, although probably hard to believe for a lot of you guys out there, is something that dolphins actually, in horrific circumstances, do. And that's the tragic end of our story between Margaret and Peter. But where was Dr. Lilly when all this was going on? Well, in 1971, Dr. Lilly started getting into some pretty serious hardcore migraines. And because this was the drug-filled age of the 70s, someone suggested he should take ketamine to cure the pain. But in all honesty, back in those days, it wasn't that big of a deal to take ketamine in the first place. All Dr. Kelly knew was that as soon as he'd taken the ketamine, he recalls feeling the migraine being pushed out of his body, and he never got one again. It's a miracle. So good, in fact, that he ended up calling this life-saving drug Vitamin K. And he ended up taking it on a very regular basis. But that wasn't enough for the drug-filled dolphin-loving scientist. On top of all this, whilst high on vitamin K, he put himself in a deprivation tank to get even more psychedelic results. This was so incredibly dangerous that he almost drowned on at least one occasion, and his wife ended up actually having to resuscitate him. Now let's delve a little bit deeper into those hallucinations. Dr. Lilly actually ended up believing in his drug-filled mind that he was being contacted by aliens. That Sega connection is getting a little bit more likely now, isn't it? Well, that's not all. The extraterrestrial entity that was contacting him was called the Earth Coincidence Control Office. In other words, Echo. So yeah, Not only was Ed, the creator of Ecco the Dolphin, influenced by stories he read of Lily for his beloved video game, but the actual name of the dolphin we all know and love came from the drugged up mind of a crazy scientist that actually, in a few instances at least, tortured the same mammals that you play as in the game. The drug taking got so out of hand that this alien group that Dr. Lily claims he was in contact with, according to him, had some pretty unique powers, almost godlike. They controlled everything in the world, and one time even cut off his penis. Let me just read this for you, taken right from the source of an interview with Dr. Lily. That evening, I took 150 milligrams of ketamine, and suddenly the Earth Coincidence Control Office removed my penis and handed it to me. I screamed in terror. My wife Tony came running in from the bedroom, and she said, "It's still attached." So I shouted at the ceiling, "Who's in charge up there? A bunch of crazy kids?" If we've learned anything from this crazy story, it's that the arcades were not lying to us. Now this story is quite the double-edged sword. Sure, all of these horrific events that I've already laid out for you have left a sour taste in the mouth of all who have heard them, but everything leading up to the point of losing that funding was actually, according to all involved, a really nice time for everybody here, especially the dolphins. And after the years of drug taking, Lily actually came to terms with what he had done and dedicated his life to freeing dolphins into their natural habitat, stating it was never his right to have dolphins in captivity working for him. Instead, his only right was to work with them in their natural habitat. And it's actually thanks to his tireless efforts, at this point in his life at least, that dolphins and other similar animals are no longer held in such confined spaces as they once were. I literally don't know what to think about this guy. Now, it's fair to say that the creator of Ecco the Dolphin, Ed Unbeatable, didn't know the whole story before taking inspiration for his game, that at the time was probably primarily played by kids. Of course, I don't agree with any of the wrongdoings in this messed up slice of history, thank you very much, angry commenters. But you can't deny it's the sort of thing that you read about, or in this case listen to, and it just sticks with you. And it just so happened to be the time when Ed Unbeatable discovered the story of Dr. John C. Lilly, Margaret Howlett, some imaginary aliens, and Peter the Dolphin. Hey guys, thanks for checking out the completely fucked up inspiration behind Ecco the Dolphin. If you're checking this out over on my channel or Larry Bundy's channel, make sure you click the links above to go and subscribe and check out some of our previous videos. But for now, that's it from me. This is DJ Slope signing out, and hopefully I'll see you all next time.